Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're not talking about emotional fallouts or debating who has the better pen game. Actually, scratch that. We are looking at Drake's recent career turbulence as a fascinating structural breakdown of business hierarchy. It is literally a masterclass in how power actually works in the music industry. We're going to look at the exact sequence of events that took a global icon from being completely insulated to standing all alone on an island.
Listen to this powerful quote from our sources. "A boss without a family is just a rich employee." Wow, right? It completely reframes our understanding of the whole situation. It points to this massive structural shift in how influence operates, and it perfectly sets the stage for our deep dive into business, loyalty, and protection today.
Here is how we're breaking this failure down today. First, the cash money shield, then the corporate shift, the OVO illusion, the rap war stress test, and finally, professional isolation.
So basically, two main steps. First, we'll compare the old, protective cash money model to his modern, independent corporate setup, and then we're going to diagnose exactly why that shift left him incredibly exposed right when he needed backing the most.
All right, Section 1, the cash money shield. Let's look at the baseline of what Drake actually had when he first came up.
It's a crazy contrast between these two setups. Back in the day, being attached to a label like Cash Money meant you weren't just a solo act. You were patched into a heavily fortified, mafia-style family structure. When you're operating inside that kind of shield, your enemies have to calculate the serious cost of fighting the entire machine. Compare that to the exposed reality of an independent corporate model. Sure, you get the ultimate fame and keep all the profits, but you're effectively standing completely alone on an island.
Because remember, Drake did not rise alone. Wayne discovered him, co-signed him, and brought him into Young Money. And from there, Birdman backed that entire machine. That wasn't just your standard recording contract, it was a comprehensive shield. During his ascent, having Wayne's cultural endorsement and Birdman's massive political weight meant going after Drake was going after an empire. He was virtually untouchable.
Which brings us to Section 2, the corporate shift. Over time, we see this huge pivot away from that family protection toward complete independence. And this didn't happen overnight. From his start in 2009, a critical turning point arrived in 2015 with "If you're reading this, it's too late." Critics argue this aggressive rollout was him actively biting the hand that fed him, rushing to fulfill his contract and walk away from Birdman. Fast forward to the 2020s, and he's trading street alliances for boardroom power, tangling with major corporate entities, which leads us directly into the explosive battles of 2024.
Here's the brutal truth about the corporate world. Unlike the Cash Money family, loyalty is instantly replaced by usefulness. He actively distanced himself from the people who made him untouchable to stand alone as his own empire. Birdman will aggressively go to bat for his artists as family. A multinational conglomerate, they operate on a fundamentally different, way colder metric.
Section 3. The OVO illusion. This looks at his attempt to build his own independent model with OVO.
Critics have actually started using a pretty harsh term for this setup, the fake boss. They use this because while OVO signed amazing talent like Majid Jordan and Party Next Door, those acts never became massive, independent superstars in their own right. Without an executive mastermind like Birdman pulling the strings to elevate the whole roster, the entire OVO system just relies on Drake carrying, well, Drake.
And that's the structural flaw right there. Real bosses build machines bigger than themselves, ecosystems that can survive without them. Birdman built Cash Money. Lil Wayne built Young Money, which launched Drake and Nicki. Drake essentially built a solo corporation. He's the product, not the architect of a self-sustaining dynasty.
Let's look at Section 4, the rap war stress test, to see exactly how this solo model holds up.
This is the defining question of the whole Kendrick conflict. When the pressure really hit, where was the cavalry? Everyone expected this massive Avengers-level family defense. If he was still the untouchable king, the old Young Money war room should have mobilized. Instead, it was just silence. Birdman and Wayne not being in the trenches for him became the loudest part of the whole narrative.
The sheer volume of allies lost here paints a clinical picture of extreme vulnerability. J. Cole apologizes and dips out. Future and Metro completely flip on him. Rick Ross openly joins the opposition, and A$AP Rocky jumps in too. Having this many heavyweights coming at you at once, with absolutely nobody stepping up to absorb the blows, that signals some massive, unprotected fractures behind the scenes.
And the climax of this stress test wasn't just a lyrical defeat.
When Kendrick's Not Like Us went straight to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, it was a massive cultural loss. It proved Kendrick totally controlled public perception, and Drake had completely lost the room. The isolation was literally charting globally at that point.
Which leads us to Section 5, Professional Isolation, our final diagnosis.
By publicly challenging corporate giants like Lucian Grange and UMG, while simultaneously losing that untouchable street aura in hip-hop, he put himself in an incredibly dangerous spot politically. You cannot fight corporate label power and fight in the streets at the exact same time without a massive family structure backing you up. It's the absolute worst place to be.
Our sources actually tracked 25 distinct warning signs and losses that prove this exact point. 25! From the early ghostwriting accusations cracking his armor years ago to completely losing that mob boss image today. The data just consistently shows that immense corporate success completely failed to protect his respect in the core rap ecosystem. It all boils down to this incredibly vital lesson. Being powerful and being protected are absolutely not the same thing. He mistook being the biggest, most famous artist in the world for having the untouchable backing of a structured empire. Fame does not equal a shield.
So what's the play here? Is his smartest move actually to swallow his pride and go back to his roots? The evidence strongly suggests he was completely alone in this conflict. Because of that, he needs Birdman and Cash Money. Not for the money, obviously, but to get back a legitimate home, a family, and that systematic protection he traded away when he went independent.
It leaves us with this wild realization. He wanted the ultimate independence, right? He wanted to be the solo billionaire boss, like Jay-Z. He achieved the incredible wealth and the independence he chased, but in doing so, he systematically dismantled the very family that kept him safe from the wolves. I mean, what good is sitting alone on the throne if you've completely torn down the castle walls? Think about that. Thanks for tuning into this explainer. We'll catch you on the next one.